A young girl entered her room and disappeared without a trace, prompting the police to launch a search. Despite utilizing helicopters and hundreds of volunteers, no clues to her disappearance were found despite all efforts. Surprisingly, day of the extensive search, new details emerged, instantly propelling this case into one of the country's most sensational topics, catching everyone off guard with its unexpected turn of events. Athena Strand entered the world on May 25, 2015, in the quaint American town of Duncan, Oklahoma. Despite her parents' divorce and her father's relocation to Texas, Athena remained with her mother. However, her father made sure to maintain regular contact and visit whenever possible. Occasionally, her mother also arranged visits to ensure Athena spent ample time with her dad. Over time, both parents remarried, blessing Athena with 2 younger sisters. Their bond was strong, and they cherished every moment spent together. Athena was a joyful child, exuding positivity and delighting in outdoor play whenever she could. In late 2022, at the age of 7, Athena embarked on a temporary stay with her father in Texas until the onset of the New Year holidays, when she planned to reunite with her mother in Oklahoma. During her stay, Athena enrolled in a nearby elementary school. Her father's residence nestled in a serene rural setting, enveloped by sprawling woods and open fields. Athena cherished her time outdoors with her father, forming a strong bond with his new wife, Elizabeth. On November 30th, like any ordinary day, Athena arrived home from school around 4:15 p.m. Her father and grandfather were out hunting, leaving Athena in the care of Elizabeth for the evening. However, Athena's mood was off, sparking an argument between her and Elizabeth. Eventually, Athena grew upset and retreated to her room, while Elizabeth proceeded to the kitchen to prepare dinner. After about 20 minutes, Elizabeth went to Athena's room to summon her for dinner, only to find that Athena was nowhere to be found. Elizabeth searched the entire house and even checked the yard, but the girl was nowhere in sight. Concerned, Elizabeth reached out to her husband's relatives who resided just a few hundred yards away. Occasionally, Athena would pay visits to her husband's relatives, but this time they claimed they hadn't seen her. Elizabeth then contacted her husband and relayed the unsettling news. Without hesitation, he instructed her to alert the authorities and promptly made his way home. By approximately 6:40 p.m., Elizabeth dialed 911, and within 14 minutes, officers arrived at their residence. She recounted the events to the officers, expressing her belief that Athena may have fled following their argument. However, the girl's relatives strongly doubted this explanation. For one, Athena was only 7 years old and had never strayed far from home before. Additionally, it was already evening, and she had a fear of the dark. Initially, the police viewed Elizabeth with suspicion, primarily because she reported the child missing 40 minutes after realizing it. Yet, after hearing her detailed account of searching the entire house and contacting relatives, they concluded she was likely telling the truth. The officers promptly initiated a search of the area. Despite the darkness, they meticulously combed through the forests and fields within a radius of several kilometers from the house. According to their primary theory, Athena may have left the house and become lost in the darkness, prompting them to concentrate all their efforts on searching that area. They also entertained the possibility of abduction, but found no evidence to corroborate it. There were no indications of forced entry into the house, and Elizabeth did not hear any noises or screams. Furthermore, none of the neighbors reported witnessing anything suspicious that evening. The police received assistance in their search efforts from the girl's relatives and concerned residents of the town. Athena's mother hurried there as soon as she was informed of her daughter's disappearance. The search persisted until nearly 5 a.m., yet no traces of Athena were uncovered. The situation was compounded by the area's rugged terrain, particularly challenging to navigate during the dark hours. At 7 a.m., the police recommenced the search with an expanded force. Moreover, as news of the girl's disappearance rippled across the county, hundreds of volunteers rallied to aid in the search efforts. Some traversed the area on horseback and ATVs, while the police employed drones and helicopters equipped with thermal cameras. Regrettably, by day's end, Athena remained elusive, prompting heightened concerns for her safety, especially given the onset of winter. Despite Texas being a southern state, temperatures had plummeted to around 50 degrees during those days. Considering Athena was clad in light attire, enduring such weather would have posed a formidable challenge for her. On the third day, the search continued, and the police expanded the area to miles around the house. They also involved their colleagues, exploring the possibility of a criminal aspect to the case. Despite The initial lack of evidence of abduction made the police increasingly doubt that Athena had left the house of her own accord. During these days, they combed several miles in all directions, but they couldn't find the girl. The idea that she could have walked such a distance without encountering any civilization seemed highly doubtful. Investigators tried to identify everyone who was near Athena's house that evening. This task was quite challenging since the residence was surrounded by trees and located a few dozen yards away from the main road. Moreover, there wasn't a single surveillance camera in the area. Nevertheless, they quickly obtained their first lead. It turned out that, on the same evening, a courier service had delivered a package to the girl's home. Investigators immediately contacted FedEx, where they were informed that the delivery to that address was handled by an external contractor. They reached out to the organization responsible for package deliveries, and they identified the specific van that had arrived at Athena's home that evening. Fortunately for the police, each of these vehicles was equipped with surveillance cameras, so they immediately requested the footage from November 30th. After rewinding to the time when the van arrived at the house, investigators saw very alarming footage. It showed the driver pulling a girl resembling Athena into the vehicle. They quickly identified the driver as a 31-year-old Tanner Horner, and the police went to his address. Soon the man was arrested on suspicion of abduction, and he was taken in for questioning. As soon as investigators mentioned the video evidence, Horner began talking. He explained that on that evening, he had indeed delivered a package to Athena's house when he was backing up his van. He felt a strike and went to check what had happened. Horner found the girl on the ground and realized that he accidentally hit her with his vehicle. Upon approaching, he noticed that she hadn't sustained any serious injuries. The girl was conscious, not crying, and even spoke to him. According to Horner, she told him her name was Athena. Feeling unsure of what to do in this situation, he panicked. After that, he put the girl in his van, trying to figure out how to resolve the situation. She continued talking to him and said that she will tell her father about it, and Horner became even more anxious. He didn't know what to do with the whole situation, as he understood that if the girl will tell adults about the incident, he could face legal trouble. According to Horner, he couldn't come up with anything better than to kill her. He said that he first tried to break her neck, but it didn't work. Then he strangled the victim, took her body to a river near a neighboring town, and dumped it in the water. Of course, such a version of events raised significant questions for the police, but the suspect provided them with the exact location where he left Athena. The investigators immediately went there and indeed found her body. The news of the girl's murder shocked not only her relatives, but also thousands of people across the country. By that time, all major media outlets were covering the case, and people were appalled by such cruelty. After the body was found, Horner was charged with abduction and murder while waiting for the medical examiner report. Detectives scrutinized the criminal's identity, trying to better understand his motives. The version of events presented by Horner seemed utterly implausible. According to his account, he had lightly hit the girl with the van, causing her no serious injuries. However, the man was so terrified that he immediately decided to kill her, considering that hitting a child without causing harm might only lead him to losing his job. Horner's story appeared highly strange. The police found that the man was engaged and had a child born a year before these events. Besides delivering packages, he occasionally worked as Uber driver. Horner was also involved in music and played in a band, performing at various cafes in the neighboring city of Fort Worth. On social media, he shared numerous photos of his child, musical performances, and other content that at first glance didn't paint Horner as a malicious individual. Prior to his arrest, he had no prior legal troubles, and authorities uncovered no indications suggesting he was capable of such heinous acts throughout his background. Just 2 months before Athena's tragic demise, he had shared images of quality time spent with his son and grandparents. The anticipation for the medical examiner's report, expected to illuminate the sequence of events, lingered for several weeks. Meanwhile, Athena's parents took legal action against FedEx and the contracting company, alleging negligence in allowing Horner to continue working. They demanded stricter screening measures for employees to avert future tragedies. However, a shocking revelation further intensified the already heart-wrenching narrative. The package Horner had delivered that fateful evening was a Christmas gift for Athena, a Barbie doll she had long desired. With the public disclosure of the medical examiner's findings, additional queries surfaced, casting a deeper shadow over the case. According to the document, the victim died within the first hour after being abducted. Her body bore injuries of varying severity, and the cause of death was asphyxiation. However, the main version held by the detectives didn't stand. They believed that Horner noticed the girl near the house and decided to abduct her to sexually assault her. But the medical experts found no evidence that this puzzled the police, as this motive seemed the most obvious. None of them believed that events unfolded according to the killer's account, as it lacked any logical explanation then. The investigators speculated that the perpetrator initially planned to sexually assault the girl, but something deviated from his plan. According to the detective's version, after the argument between Athena and her father's wife, the girl went outside and was in the yard. At the same time, Horner arrived at the house to deliver the package and noticed the girl. According to this version, he saw an opportunity to fulfill his depraved fantasies. Athena was alone near the house, surrounded by trees, completely isolated from prying eyes. Horner could have either lured the girl into the van through deception or deliberately hit her to place her in the vehicle without resistance. What happened next is unclear. There are two main versions that seem most logical. Horner might have planned to take the girl far away from the house to commit his intended acts. But she either started screaming or attempted to escape, fearing capture. The man killed her and then took her body to the river. According to the second version, Horner might have engaged in some deviant actions towards the victim that did not involve direct contact. In such a case, medical experts would not have found evidence of sexual assault. Soon the detectives came across indirect and rather unexpected clue that this crime indeed could have had a sexual motive. Her had no previous legal issues before this murder, which is relatively rare in most cases. People capable of deliberately taking someone's life begin with much less severe crimes. For many weeks, the detectives meticulously studied her past. They spoke to his relatives, friends, and acquaintances, trying to find any hints that the man might have been involved in other crimes. In the end, they made a breakthrough. The police managed to find several individuals who claimed to have suffered from Horner's actions when they were children. The police didn't disclose their identities in the interest of the investigation, nor did they reveal all the details of what happened. It's only known that one of the victims accused the man of assaulting her 9 years ago. Additionally, Horner was charged with 3 more incidents of sexual assault involving minors in 2013. It's unknown at this time whether these incidents involve one child or 3 different victims, but that's not all. One of her victims had been publicly speaking for years about how he assaulted her when she was 16. She wrote about it on her social media, trying to bring attention to the fact that Horner was a dangerous criminal. For some reason, the man faced no consequences for this act and wasn't even considered a suspect. The girl accusing him of this crime wrote that for all those years, nobody believed her. However, after Horner killed Athena, these allegations received much more attention. They exposed the true nature of this individual and his possible motives. Now, her will also face separate trials for these 4 incidents, apart from the legal proceedings for Athena's murder. There's another aspect that, on its own, may not seem significant, but in the context of all of Horner's crimes, it provides further insight into his true character. After his identity became public, internet users discovered his TikTok account. There were only a few videos, with the last one shot a few weeks before the murder. In this video, Horner recorded his reaction to a clip where someone captured a bug in a glass and then slowly poisoned it with a spray, watching the bug die. Horner's face displayed a rather eerie expression, as if he genuinely enjoyed the process of killing. If the man was indeed a sadist who derived genuine pleasure from witnessing someone's death, his account of Athena's murder comes into question once again. He claimed that the only reason he killed her was the fear of facing punishment for a much lesser crime. But if we consider that he had such sadistic tendencies, his account appears even more absurd. As part of the preparation for the trial, the authorities announced that they would seek the death penalty. Horner himself hired a lawyer who advised him to withdraw his confession and declare his innocence. However, this is unlikely to help him avoid punishment, considering that the police have video footage from the van, as well as Horner's testimony about the exact location of the body. His guilt is more than evident. Moreover, additional evidence might be presented during the trial, the existence of which is currently unknown. It's likely they found Athena's DNA traces in the van, and genetic material from the killer could have been collected from her clothing and body. We can only follow the course of the trial and wait for further details to become known to the public.